Yeah, and I want to say also that I have a new class starting for my online course of 4 months in end of May, and the inscription are open. So to the one who are interested into that, you can reach me, and I can give you more details. So if you have any question on this introduction or anything else, feel free to ask.
Hi, David,
Hello,
and
Patel.
everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. My question is more of a sharing of experience and trying to make sense of it. So I am relatively new in non-duality. I would say maybe over a year, but not more than that, on the spiritual path forever, since I was in the 70s, maybe. The more I delve into this teaching and meditate and think about it and listen to podcasts and come here and do retreats, it almost feels like an obsession that's taken over my life. And while I have insights, I then question my insights because aren't my insights being generated by mind? This is what I think to myself. And it has led to a place of some loneliness, and I don't understand, because when I'm meditating, I have big chunks of time where I feel a lot of peace. And I definitely feel that I have touched a place in me where I'm me. But it's not a lasting thing. And so I do have a question, and the question is about all of the anxiety around this feeling of isolation and loneliness. And I'm just wondering, I I know that there's I've heard of a purification process where things that have been stored in the body like trauma are released. Maybe that's what's happening to me. I'm just not sure. But it would be nice sometimes I wish that teachers such as yourself, David, would back up and share what that journey was like before the awakening, because once you're in that place, It sounds all wonderful. I mean, of course, life goes on the planet, and that sucks. But it sounds like there's a place of being while you're in the world that brings a sense of peace no matter what's happening around. And I think that's what everybody in the world would like to have. But we don't often hear about the journey getting there. And so that part feels um it feels isolating somehow. Like it's such an internal experience or something. Anyway, I don't want to keep going on, but if you could speak to that, it would be helpful for me. Sorry about my camera.
Thank you for your authenticity and to share openly what's happening for you and how things express. I I don't talk often about my own history or the memory I have of the process much. Because I have the belief that it's not that interesting. And I'm not sure that it is helpful either. So with this doubt in mind, I often don't speak much about it. Um, Now, because you're asking, and that seemed that it could be supportive to you, apparently, I can tell you a little bit about the memory I have, about how it was for me, and how it still is for me. I think si since I was very young, I always felt a big hole in me. Like I described it like a black hole in my chest. I always felt empty, no matter what was happening. And I had a lot of difficult childhood because of uh, emotions. And I did things and nothing really functioned. And at some point, I was introduced to the book A Course in Miracles, which is a non-dual teachings. And it just blew my mind. I was just like, for the first time, I had something in my hand that really answered to all of my questions in a way that makes sense to me for the first time. That really answer everything in a way that makes sense to me. I want to precise that to me. Maybe not for everyone, but to me, it makes sense. Everything was amazing. And it appeared at a point in my life where I was in a lot of pain, emotionally pain. I was emotionally I was terrible, and I was doing a lot of sport, on very violent, uh, combative sport, and I was training so much and working so much and drinking and partying, and it was everything was on the top. I woke up one day. I remembered it was 5:30, and I woke up and all of my body. I was physically in pain. I felt pain everywhere in my body, and something in me said, "This is something like there must be another way because this is not working. Whatever I'm doing now is not working." And that's where around the book appear. So I just took it like a revelation, a personal revelation for me. And I didn't talk to anyone about that. I was just reading this book and nothing else. I wasn't um, watching anything else. I was just with this book. And for 5 years, I was just reading this book constantly, constantly reading. and doing everything in the book and everything. So it was very intense for me, this period. And after that, I meet some people of this, some woman teacher that teach me a lot, and they show me that for 5 years I was misunderstanding everything, which was great. Which was great. I learned a lot from that, and at the same time, I was doing a lot of therapy for myself mainly, but also doing trainings to support others. But I wasn't supporting anyone. Mainly it was really for me. So for 4 years also I was working kind of in with both, which was very difficult and very paradoxical because from one hand I was doing therapy and trauma therapy and somatic experiments and perinatal therapy also, everything around birth, around what happened in the womb. So I was doing a very strong therapy-oriented process. At the same time, I was fully on non-duality. I have no body. There is no one here. There's nothing here. So it was very, very difficult to hold both of seemingly contradictory process. But at the same time, I felt that I needed both of them without understanding why. And that's how it goes for years. That's how it went for me. Until at some point I had seemingly acquired some success. I had a beautiful girlfriend, which had we had amazing sex. We were traveling around the world for therapy, for spirituality retreat. I felt like I'm the king of the world, right? And at this point, I was living in a yurt in Switzerland, in the mountain. I was living in a yurt, very isolated from the world a lot. I was dealing with trees, birds, and cows. That's amazing. And just when I thought like I got it, yeah, this is, this is really the stuff, right? Everything collapsed. My girlfriend left me, and I was confronted suddenly with the addiction of sexuality, right? With this strong distraction that I needed this distraction to balance my emotional state. So suddenly, like one of my crutch just left me, and I was just out of balance completely. And then I had to move from this yurt for different reasons, and I decided to go to Barcelona, to 8 million city, and I chose an apartment, a renting apartment. We were 8 people in this apartment in the middle of the city. Just insane. And here I was suddenly in Barcelona with no girlfriend. And when I went to the teacher that I was following, I went in the group and everyone was doing things, and suddenly I just saw the emptiness of it all. I just saw like, what is this about? I don't understand what are we doing here? So I stop. I just stand up and say, you know what? I have to stop everything. And he was in shock. No, you have to continue and stay with us. And, all of the spiritual all together, we'll grow together, we'll support. And I just, you know what? It's terrible. It doesn't make no sense. Which was very difficult because emotionally, this group and this spiritual seeking was another crunch for me. Because I was a spiritual being, right? I was going somewhere. And suddenly this was taken away from me too. And then I just find myself in the center of a big city that I don't know, with knowing no one. And therapy also, I finished everything that I have studied, and yeah, I was just there, and I have no more reference point, neither with my eyes, neither the geography. Emotionally, there was no one to support me. And here I was with nothing, like naked. Suddenly you are, what has happened? Like in 2 weeks, I lost everything that I thought that I was the king of the world, that heaven was, I was in the door of heaven, and suddenly I'm like, what is this all about? I don't understand what's happening. And that's where, with all of the crutch that left, that's where I was just confronted to my emotions. And that's where I started to have anxiety attack, and I was crying on the street, and I I lost myself in the cities. And when I go to the supermarket, I was just lost. I was there, and suddenly I forgot why I was there, what I was buying, where I left, where I am. I was completely, I lost all reference point. But at the same time, I had this overwhelming wave of sadness, of that just were coming on, and I couldn't function because I had a full-time job at the same time, so I couldn't function. So at this point, I said, well, I decided to give half an hour of my time for this emotion. So I remember from 9 to 9:30, it was crying time. So for 6 or 7 months, I was just sitting on the sofa and crying for half an hour, crying. Everything was just allowing everything to come up. And at 9:30, I just stopped everything, and I tried my best to kind of do what I have to do, just work and eat. And the main goal of my life at this point was eat the best I can and sleep the best I could. That's it. There was nothing else between. And to not lose my job, because that was important for me, to not lose financial revenue for surviving. So that was my life for a while. It was very difficult because I couldn't read anything. I couldn't watch anything. And I was with myself. I feel terrible. Where is the freedom? Where is the peace? Where is all of that? I feel like it's worse than anything. And I was in the street, and people who were never done spirituality, I perceived them way more happy than me. And what did I do for 15 years? What I was doing? Why didn't I make money? Why didn't I, make a family? Why didn't, do human things? Why I was so, like you say, obsessed with this stupidity? But that was my process. But at the same time that all of this was unfolding, there was something in me that says somehow, this is the past. This is the way it has to be, right? So there was a lot of confusion, emotion, and everything. At the same time, there was this strength in me that don't run away from this. Don't take another crutch. Don't don't do what you used to do before. And then I met uh, my companion that I have now, that is the mother of my child, and we help each other in a way. We supported each other, and things start to change. Things start to make more sense slowly and slowly. And over time, I feel less and less emotionally triggered by things. And the last event that was very strong for me was my child, when my partner was pregnant, and we wanted to do a home birth. we had everything, you know, to do it at home with how do you say, those women who support you, you know, to do the birth, and everything was beautiful. And we discover at 8 months that my child have a tumor in the stomach. But this is his history, so I don't want to speak too much about that. But the thing is, suddenly, again, everything was beautiful, and suddenly it was the baby can die, the mother can die, you know, like everything changed again. And that's where it hit me very strongly that the only support I have is God. The only thing I can trust in this life, the only thing that it is never changing is the presence of God, or being, or life, or whatever makes sense for you. And during this period, and after the birth, the difficult birth and everything, during this process, I never felt so near of God in my life. And I could touch why some of the mystics say that they love challenge, you know, and they ask for God for challenge in life, because often in challenging human experience, you realize that you can only the only solidity that you can put your peace and your strength is the presence of God, the presence of this infinity that is here. Everything else change, move, and collapse. And well, luckily, my child, now everything is fine with him. But I love my child, and I love my family, and I love my life the way it is. But I know that everything can change. So of course I have preferences. I prefer my family to be healthy, to be happy, and alive. But humanity is not will not last forever. None of us will last forever. So that's where you are, Patea. You know, at some point you have to ask the question, what is the priority to me, for me? So this is a little bit the purpose of, very briefly, of the history, of the memory I have, because no one knows what actually happened.
Thank
And
you.
the most important thing, it's very specific. So even if you hear my story, it can be completely different from someone else.
Mhm.
So it can be inspiring, and if it makes sense and support you, beautiful. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. So you can never compare with someone else what's happening in your life. But even if I say that, it is true that what I lived, it's often how people live also, their process. It's very similar, even if in the specific it is different, but in essence, the unfolding is very, very similar. Which basically it's very simple. The beginning, we hold happiness, joy, and peace, and even our very self, we put it in the world, in the body, in the mind. We put it out there, and we live from that perspective. At some point, we see that the world will always change. The environment will collapse at some point, and the earth will become fire again, and the sun will implode or explode or whatever, and this solar system will disappear. And yeah, the body will die. We know this. Every body dies. Not everybody died, but every body, every functioning dies. We try to hide it everywhere. We don't speak about it. We try to pretend that it's not happening. But it's a fact, everyone knows. And the mind will become crazy at some point. We lose things. We start to dysfunctionals. The mind is in the sense, yeah. So the world, the body, and the mind dysfunction over time. So what do we do, right? And that's the question. What do we do? Because there is something that is permanent, that is constant in all of that. And it has different name. People have given different name to that. And whatever name makes sense for you, but your awareness, your own presence does not depend on anything. Doesn't depend on mind, doesn't depend on sensation of the body, doesn't depend on perception of the world. So I think that's where suffering is the real teacher. When you see that you put your peace in the world, you suffer. So with this teaching, just to say, you know what, I love the world, and I want flowers, and I want to be happy, and rainbow, and yeah, I want that, but you know, that's not my responsibility. But this happening was happening, but I will not put my happiness there because it's really messy, and it's always changing anyway. So you withdraw your happiness from that. And the same for the body. You say the body is great. I want a body that function. I want to have pleasure. Why not eat good food and have a body without pain? That would be great. But bodies does what body does, and bodies start to dysfunction at some point. So pain is inevitable almost in the body. But if I identify with the body, I'm going to die. So inevitably I feel anxiety. So you start to withdraw your peace and your identity from the body, because it's not a good place to put your identity in. And for the mind is the same. The mind is insane also. The finite mind is always pouring guilt, confusing things, doesn't understand anything. It make up everything. Is the human mind is built into memory, into assumption, into interpretation. So it literally doesn't understand anything because it works only from memory. It doesn't see actuality. So I cannot put my identity there also, nor my intelligence, nor my sensitivity there, because there's nothing there. So you withdraw also your intelligence and your identity from the mind. And that's another way to say, to express my history. Through suffering, you start to withdraw your identification, your peace, and your attention from those things, because those things doesn't lead anywhere. And so to pay more and more attention to what you are, to things like God, like love, like peace, like awareness, and many different other words. And so to see that when the love that you have, the love that I have for my mother, the love that I have for my brother, the love that I have for my child, the love that I have for all of you here, and the love that I have for apples is the same love. The love doesn't have a specific quality. Love is an expression of something, but it doesn't have a specificality. That's why I can love everything. I don't know where I'm going now, but
Thank you.
But most importantly, don't idolize anything I say, right?
No,
Just
I understand.
I can tell you something. I've nothing special. I'm no more than anyone here. I've nothing more and I've nothing less. Sorry, go ahead, Giant.
Yeah, hey. The thing that Patty said, your name is pronounced Patty, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm John.
John.
I really could resonate with what you said. I felt I was in a pretty much similar place. Also with things David said, like that. I don't know why is everybody so happy and they didn't even care about like spirituality. They don't even know what non-duality is. All of these things,
Yeah.
I guess, are very common things that happen. And yeah, I have my story that I tell myself how it is a process and changes. And if for me, somehow it seemed like yeah, this I don't know, at some point, at least how I started, I came from this mindfulness kind of corner, let's say, and in that process, I started to distance myself to become kind of this observer, like look at everything, like my emotions, my thoughts, and the senses, like what I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, and so on and so forth. And I kind of became good, let's say, in some sense in that, so I could realize more things and I could observe. And this somehow, I think, gave me the feeling that I'm in control. So, like going back to last week, what David said a lot about control. And I think, yeah, then I distanced myself so far that I distance myself from the world, basically, and from everybody else as well in some way. It's not that I stopped, I don't know, talking to friends and so on and so forth. It's just this feeling came because I took myself so out of everything, like being kind of neutral about everything. And yeah, I realized that at some point. And I also realized that, yeah, this loneliness is just something that I label. I tried also to look into this feeling, what it is, and then it's just like, yeah, it's just some energy like everything else. And I just tag it as loneliness and emotion. And I somehow started to not call it that and see it kind of, yeah, as just some energy arising, as likewise as, I don't know, when I'm annoyed by something or impatient or whatnot. And then also like move back into, let's say, life, kind of merge more with it back from this observer position. And I think these two things together somehow, yeah, made this go away. But I also believe that this feeling was maybe always there, it's just that I didn't notice it in some sense because I wasn't as mindful before. And at some point you become hyper vigilant or something and then notice these things and you tag them like, oh, there's something I don't know, that's weird. What is that? And then you name it and it becomes something uh, special, like loneliness. Yeah, but this is how it somehow disappeared from me. I'm obviously, like David says, I cannot say maybe it will come back. There's always the impermanence of things, and yeah, this is my current story about it. Let's say, just wanted to share it. Maybe.
Thank you for sharing that. That was the idea of maybe labeling it something different resonates with me. I haven't thought of that or thought of doing that because when it wells up in me, it feels so overwhelming.
Mm.
And at first I tried to push that away and do what I think you speak of when you were being mindful, which is distancing from it. And now I thought this keeps showing up, so maybe I'm supposed to be just allowing it. And that's kind of where I've landed, but yeah, that's where I've landed. But thank you for sharing. I
Sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I did actually the same thing. I don't know. It was like since, I mean, it took probably a month or so of doing that because, yeah, it's just a habit. Not every time I could like really feel it. Like I said, go let the emotion like actually live it. I mean, instead of watching it from a distance. So I had to, yeah, create this habit of actually feeling things and seeing them as something that is there, and every resistance towards it is creating just something else than it's actually there and making it more difficult. And yeah, like any other habit, I guess at some point it just gets better and better, and finding a good luck with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Giant. I prefer Giant. Giant? Giant. It's good.
That's I'm always surprised how people come up with different nicknames for me. It's amazing. So it's Jan, but people make everything out of it. It's
Jan.
amazing for me.
Jan. Yeah, sorry, Jan. Sorry.
No, it's not a problem. I'm totally used to people giving me nicknames.
You know, we have a bad habit in the non-dual circle often, and therapy circle, is the habit of, when I say, bringing something very near. Of course, when you say loneliness, you can say you bring loneliness very near, which is completely valid approach. And everything you say, Jan, also, right?
I like
But
Jan.
we forgot
So good.
we forgot that experience is always dual, in the sense that it always have a polarity. Everything that appear always with a polarity. Of course, the polarity itself is endless. Like you never find the end point of each polarity, but nevertheless there is some kind of spectrum between two things constantly. So in one spectrum can be loneliness, and the other spectrum can be, I don't know what is the opposite, but relationship, I think, can be good, right? Relationship. And between both, well, you feel that you navigate between kind of, So if you feel that one thing is very strong and it's too much to approach it, you can also explore the opposite, which will be easier. Because of course, if one is too much, often the opposite is what you seek. So if you what you want, right? Because it will bring seemingly some balance, seemingly. But if you explore the other one, you will be exploring the same experience. So whatever realization you have on one polarity will be valid for the other. That is to say, there are moments where you don't feel lonely, or you feel in connection. It can be connection with a tree, connection with the nature, connection with a child, connection with a friend, connection with a dog, connection. So instead of not instead, but you can also add that what is being in connection? What is connection mean? And if you feel connected and you have some kind of positive emotion, and you like that, you like this thing of being connection. Where does this emotion arise? What does being in connection mean? Not intellectually, but actually. How, what is the difference between loneliness and being in a relationship? And if you explore the other polarity, it can be easier, because it's something that you want. So because you want, it's easier to bring it in. But the quality that is in one will be in the other, in the opposite, like a old-time picture, like a negative, the black and white. So often the loneliness is the black. So it's difficult to be with the blackness of life, right? But if there is black, there is white. So if you explore white, it's easier. Even if there is less of it, it will be easier because you will want to watch it. It's pleasurable. So you dive into it. But if you dive into the whiteness of life, you dive into, with this metaphor, to the negative, right, itself. So the quality of the spectrum is everywhere in the spectrum. And that is to say, if you explore what is being connection, you will find that connection happen inside you. And the more you see this, the more you will see that there is no there is no real connection with things outside. So therefore, there is not also loneliness, because everything is here. It can be an easier way of exploration. Easier is the best.
I can speak, David.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful what you said about your life, David, and how you summarised it where, you know, the only thing constant is this presence or God and all that really touched me. That actually it's made a big impact on me, that. So yeah, great. And some great conversations, Pate and Jan. And I sort of like can add to that. I don't think I've got a question as well, but just on the back of what Pataya said, or Patty, or sorry if I get your name wrong. This has taken over my life as well. I won't say it's an obsession. I would rather call it a calling. Earlier this year, I travelled around Asia. I backpacked around Asia, and I was going to all these beautiful places and beaches and temples and mountains and microgliding and whitewater rafting and all these things. And I was on, beautiful seas and snorkeling and all this type of stuff. And it was basically one amazing experience after another. And while I was traveling, I was contemplating a lot as well. I was traveling with my son backpacking all around Asia. And it became crystal clear to me, absolutely crystal clear, that if I live my life through this character Paul, I can never, ever, ever achieve happiness. The best I can get is temporary experiences that of enjoyment, which soon are forgotten. They're virtually forgotten hours later or the day after. And because we were backpacking, there was always another experience. The ego was kicking up, going, okay, you've done that, an amazing experience, but what are we doing tomorrow? And also what I realized within the observation, you see these pictures on Instagram with some person on a beautiful beach and all that. And yet, when you actually observe it, the ego is not happy in paradise. You could be sitting in the sun and thinking, oh, it's a little bit hot. Then you go into the shade and you think, no, it's a little bit cold in there. Or the sun's burning my feet. Or you dive into the sea and it's a little bit cold. Are you with me? So you see these pictures that in these beautiful places, and yet the ego itself thinking, oh, they're amazing. But if you actually observe it yourself, you're not in eternal bliss in these places. And if you actually watch it, it's still not quite happy with the now. It's still thinking, if only this brilliant experience would be slightly better. I need a drink. I need a beer. I need to sit down. You know what I mean? So that's what I picked up on that. So, so that's the first thing to me. And then it came apparent, well, this calling is the most beautiful, inspiring thing that you could ever do in my view. What is more fascinating than looking to find your true nature and looking into direct experience? What is more fascinating than that? In fact, I've got a Rupert Spira video that actually says that, which I like. I mean, we're looking into such an amazing, unknown, magnificent thing that any other experience pales into insignificance in my view. So to me, it's become more of a calling rather than an obsession. But I hear what you're saying, Patty, on that. And I'm beginning to sort of like trust the process, if it is a process, and no real processes and all that, and just almost like I had a mind attack last night. And I've seen clearly like that I'm not the character. And even though the mind, I'm like on an 80-20, I would say about an 8, I've said it on previous calls, that identification has dropped quite a lot. In fact, anxiety has come down, but I still do get identified with the character Paul. And I'm going through quite a difficult life situation. And I was just watching it rise last night with curiosity, actually. And I realized a couple of things. If you just watch it curiously, I'm in a situation where I can't control, like you talked about last week. I can't control it. And I don't want the present situation to be like it is. So I'm resisting reality, or the character is resisting reality. And it's so curious to watch, but yet there's still a strong pull to go in with that. Are you with me? It's still a bit of a pull to go, yeah, but there must be something I can do. There must be something I can do to change it, rather than, you know what I mean? So I'm at that balance, that fine balance about, should I, you know, the action's got to take, so there's certain actions that's got to take place. There's no doubt about that. There's actions that got to take place in we'll call it the real world now. And I suppose it's like the balance between, you know, recognizing the truth of the moment and just going with it, and then going with the action. Are you with me? So I suppose if there's a question in there, is in difficult moments, we've still got to act, haven't we? Still, things have still got to be done. Like you said, you know, you was in a difficult moment, you were crying, but you still had to go to work. So it's just them. It's just them actions in difficult moments. Maybe if you could have a discussion about that, because there was a little bit of, no, I've got to do something about this. And I'm still sitting with that. I'm still sitting with that, because I've got to take some actions. Are you with me? So actions have got to be taken. But you know, it's whether to go effortlessly into that, or, you know, the thinking about what needs to be done. So maybe a bit of question around that, David, please. Yeah.
You you say something that was very interesting. You say, I react to reality in a specific way, and I have to react to this real event. But the point is, you are not reacting to an actual event. You're not reacting to reality. You are reacting to the interpretation that your own mind is making about reality.
Great.
Right? So if you start to see and perceive that, you will see that things will drop very fast. And the second one is, you believe, I don't approach choice very much. I can talk about it and everything, but I think it's not very functional to approach choice directly. I think it's better to approach those in the consequences. And so that whatever you do, the result will be inevitable. There is a situation, you may want to improve the situation, but the action that you think is the best will maybe do the opposite of what you thought. The result will be opposite. You don't know. So I would say, allow choosing to happen. Allow whatever, you know, habit and behavior to happen. That's not the issue. The issue is the belief that your action will result in what you think it will. So it's your expectation that you are reacting. So you are reacting to the interpretation of reality, but actually you don't know what's really happening. And you don't know the result of it either. So my approach now for me, and more, it's, of course, I perceive a problem, okay? And when you perceive a problem, automatically it's because you think that there is something better, or there is a solution. Obviously, they go together. Choice and problems go together, right? So, of course, when one appear, the other one will appear also, right? I can improve, therefore I have a problem. I have a problem, therefore I can improve it. So it's really, I guess, again, the same spectrum. The point is, this situation, as I'm perceiving it, is not really like that. And the result that I'm expecting of the situation is not the way my mind is thinking about it. It's not accurate. The expectation my mind is projecting in my awareness is inaccurate, is not true. And that's a fact, because you are not there, and you are not sure you're not absolutely sure about the way this situation will unfold. People have cancer, and this cancer is the worst things in their life. They suffer pain and everything, misery. And after a while, they understand things happen, and suddenly this experience becomes the best things in their life because it allows a lot of things to happen. So cancer was bad or was good? Neither. It was just the mind that is trying to interpret what's happening. So it literally manufacture the world, the body, and your finite mind. So this manufacturing project the issue, and then the same things try to tell you how to improve it. So it's like someone coming to your house, putting fire, and then go away, dress as a fireman, and come back and say, I have a solution for you. Yeah, well, you are both, right? So it's the same, really. And his solution is not really a solution because the fire, both the fire and the solution are both an assumption, an interpretation of reality. And the more you perceive that, the more you will allow the more you will. That's how I feel, and I guess that's what you can feel. But that's, of course, a belief. You can feel love, you can feel tenderness, and you can allow the character and your ability to unfold completely. You can allow choice to be without judgment, without anything. Because that's where this kind of feeling your own being, it's supporting you. So whatever is happening, the point is not really the event. If I die now, it's not more important or more significant than if I live for 80 more years. It's the significance is my own being, my own awareness. That's the meaning of life itself. Everything else is kind of secondary to it. So the way this life unfolds, it's okay. If David make terrible choice, it's fine because I'm not losing anything really. Even if, of course, there is preferences. You understand? So the more you release choice, the more you are at peace with choice, the more you are free from choice, even though choice seems to appear. It's like a child when a child wants to choose the book to read at night. It's like I can choose any book. Really, I prefer a book that is happy and peaceful for you, but it doesn't matter because I know you are safe. And that's the same approach for your human challenge. It's like, okay, I understand it's difficult. I understand that the perception I have is very small. So, okay, choose the best you want, think as much as you want, do whatever you want, and it's fine, it's okay. And in that way, you are not fighting choice. You're not fighting the impulse of trying to resolve things. You are going completely under it, and you are saying everything is fine now. So it's okay. You can do whatever you want. And the more you do this, the more you will see that life itself is taken over more and more. Because the way you are speaking, I feel that you are still struggling. Like, I shouldn't think about this problem, or I shouldn't choose. Should I choose this? Should I choose that? Or the only choice, if you want to speak about choice, you can choose to feel your own presence and to dive into it, or you can get distracted with experience. That's the only if you want to speak about choice, the choice there is. But even in this choice, is nothing really bad happen in the sense of the consequences. You know, if you eat bad and your body gets sick, well, there's if you go very deep, you see it. And what? So what? And if you win the lottery and you have millions or billions, so what? Yeah, great. But so what? Yeah, because the result is not in my hand.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know if you can feel this tenderness that is I'm trying to convey indirectly. And the absence of judgment also, which is tenderness. Which is Paul can do mistakes. Paul can be in terrible situation and make terrible choices. But so what? I mean, you know, we have a limited mind, we have a limited perception, we have a limited choice. So we know as a person, we do whatever it seems that is best for us within all of this mess. But when we focus on that, we focus on thought and the narration, and we get distracted, right? And we forget that all of that is happening within something that is unaffected by it in a way. But I agree with you, Paul. It's quite a ride, this experience.
Yes,
And
exactly. And
yeah.
the thing is as well, it's not, I think when you've seen something, it's not a linear, to me, it's not like a black and white thing. Like I said, as you pointed out, temporarily got identified again. So it's like this seemingly to-ing and fro-ing, back and forward. I think what happens is maybe when I see it, small situations before, I see quite a lot of it before identification now. And so it's quite easy for me to discard it, you know, but this particular situation, there's quite a lot of emotion and family, and I suppose I've reverted to type, as it were, you know, to conditioning about how to deal with it. Yeah, I can see that now.
But I encourage you not to, yeah, as you said, there is a process, but it's not linear, just as you say. And the thing with identification, I encourage you to perceive it more like a dream. You know, when you dream, something is appearing within your mind, which can be very distracting, can be a lot of things there. But all of it is appearing within you, right? And it's the same with identification. Identification is not something that is putting you in a jail and then you are stuck and then disappear and you are free again. No, it's identification is a thought that is appearing right now and can be more or less intense, right? But to approach it that way, you will see that if you identify or very strongly identify or slightly identify, it doesn't really matter how much you identify. What matters, there is one thought appearing. And the way you stop giving importance to that, it's when you start to see that you stop giving importance when identification disappear. When identification disappear, nothing special has happened. But the more you make, when you are disidentified, like you kind of hold some kind of story behind it, the more it will be emotionally also charged when identification happen, because that's the polarity. Am I identified or I'm not identified? But I think the message is more non-dual. Both states are an appearance within it. When you don't feel identified with something, it's also an identification, because it's one part of the spectrum. So you will go to the other automatically over time, spontaneously. But to be at peace with both, it's fine. I can be completely identified and angry, and I can be seemingly perfectly fine. But there is no value in the state. There is a difference of texture. It is neutral in value.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was last week, David, you told me like to watch who's like doing the last, let's say, judgment from an opinion that somebody having of me, and I really paid a lot of attention to it, and it was extremely freeing, and it connects with what you two just talked about, and I realized the most freeing thing that happened is that I observed the moment when I was having this opinion of I was identified. And I realized basically I cannot control this anyway. Everything is happening. And the moment I have this opinion that this is something bad that happened, that identified, I create something which is not there. So
exactly.
only this thing, and then I let it, I start letting it go, and this has been like one of the most freeing things. I mean, this is of course my story, it's a thought, but this has been so freeing. Like it's just what's happening, and if I don't term it as something bad, like this identification, then it's just like a wave going in and out, or it's yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Moving this control factor has been amazing just in this 1 week already. Yeah.
Oh, I'm very happy, Jain. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. That was a great
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing, because this is what I was trying to point to. It's difficult, it's a very long speech, apparently.
Yeah, afterwards, at some point, you just, when you see
Yeah.
it yourself, it makes sense. And
Because
yeah,
the one that is saying you are identify with, and the one that is saying you are not identified with,
Mhm.
this is the true identification. This is whatever these things, this thought is, that's okay. And when you say this, that's why I talk a lot about I speak a little bit about this withdrawing meaning, withdrawing interest. You're not really withdrawing meaning, because meaning is always you. You are the meaning of everything. But when you seemingly put it out there, that's where things start to seemingly be problematic. But when you see that you are the meaning, and if you are identified or you are disidentified, or there is thought, there's no thought, you will remain. So you see, why do I worry about all of those stories of being identified or not? And the more you do this, strangely or normally, you see, it's fine. It's very, like it's raining, it's sunny. I prefer when it's sunny, but life does whatever it has to do. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Often I feel I'm talking too much, but sometimes I feel also that when I speak, I'm kind of holding some kind of transmission. Oh, who knows?
yeah, that's definitely how it feels. Like, like I don't know, like there is something described, but you cannot grasp with your mind. But somehow it's like, I don't know, being transparent and becoming more and more opaque, kind of, and then it becomes visible at some point. So like a picture painted or something.
Yeah. How do you describe a window, a transparency of a window to a man who have never seen? It's like you see it, but you don't see it. But why do you see it or you don't see it? Well, you see it because you can see through it, but you can see. It's like, you know, it makes no sense. But if you look through a window, you understand what is transparency. It's, you know, it's just transparent. Yeah, good example. Thank you. I will write this something about transparency and opaqueness. It's great.
But this window example is also great because I realized then the way you see it is nothing that hasn't been there before. You just shift your perspective or your focus in some sense, right? Because yeah, even like I was thinking of when you're saying that, I was imagining myself standing in front of the window, and then I realized, yeah, you could just see everything behind the window all the time, and because you never called something a window, you didn't realize it's there, and then somehow you focus on it and you create it, and you also see it even though it was there all the time. Somehow this also has some maybe only meaning to me of how like yeah you because how you can like see the world maybe through you with your eyes, and you see yourself speaking something different, and then when it melts, somehow it's not that something has changed, it's just that your perspective has changed or your focus has changed in a sense, became broader instead of narrow, being in this kind of ego way of thinking, like just broadens, but nothing new is there in that sense.
And what you're pointing now is the illusion, the imagination of amazing experience. Oh, when I understand this, when I really see, I will have some kind of bliss. And people talk about shift in perception and perception being flat or having no body, or I will have some kind of amazing thing, which is true. It is amazing in relationship to the way you are perceiving now. It is very normal because it's the normal way you feel your own experience. Like sensation are not out there, perception is not out there, thought are not out there. So, and there is no physical world out there if you look carefully. So there's nothing new, nothing special, really. But it is special in relationship in the way you are perceiving now. So sometimes because there is a huge shift, some people talk about a great experience. And it is great and amazing, but it's not in the way that people imagine it to be. And it is really amazing, but I try to avoid this selling a product, is selling some kind of experience, because I think it's more misleading than useful. It's like taking mushrooms, you know. You want to try, but you cannot describe it. So you want to try, you have to try, that's it. You don't need to read books, just try it. And you'll see it's amazing. Not the mushroom, but this experience. And you become more and more addicted to it because it's pleasurable. So it's at some point, for me personally, my impulse was a striving of suffering. So I wanted to get away from. It's too much suffering. I need some kind of, I need to breathe, you know, I need to feel life, because this is so meaningless what's happening here. So there is this huge seeking, and when something appears, there's addiction. There's something else. Well, what is it? Because here it's empty, it's meaningless, and everyone's gonna die, and the earth gonna die. So there's even no future for anyone. So it's overwhelming. There is another possibility. I will take it. So you just start to explore like a madman. But at some point, it's the opposite. At some point, you see, it's not a running away, it's a seduction. We're like, come here, you know, yeah, there is a humanity, there is sensation, pain, suffering. Okay, that's fine, but come here. Everything is good. And you go back, and that's great. And people invite you into the drama, and sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're like, okay, well, we'll see, you know, and just, you know. So at some point, it's really a seduction. It's really and when the seduction, when you start to taste what you are, the sense of sacrifice disappears completely. It's like, okay, take away everything you need to take away. It's fine. Take away money, health, family, children, take whatever need to be taken. It's so good. I'm not saying this in a dismissing way. I'm saying this in a way that, because what I am is this awareness. What everyone is that also. So no one is losing anything at any level either. And that's a really gift that we can, from our perspective, do to someone, to show that there is another way. And you show the way not by being dressed in white and talking about spiritual stuff, but by feeling by being the message within you. And after, if you speak about it or not, it's really secondary.
I'd love to ask something. I'll see if this comes out. It's kind of linking into so much of what we discussed. It's been such an incredible, insightful meeting. I'm really grateful for the questions and explorations. But going back, we've said how a lot of visits become like this way of life. It's like there's that draw to it, like it couldn't be anything else but to be on this path. And I've had experiences where the mind has wanted to tell me that I'm lonely and I'm cut off and there should be things that I'm doing. But I found recently it's gone more the other way, where what I'm finding is that there are certain situations or places or even people that I don't enjoy being around anymore. But linking into what you were saying about the resistance, I guess I'm just trying to figure out there. It's like I just prefer the peace and ease. It's like I can often just sit at home and I actually feel content. But if I'm kind of forced, as was happening at one point, to like, oh, we need to go out, we need to do this, we need to do the other, it's felt really like dysregulating to the system. Does that kind of make sense what I was saying? So yeah, my seduction, if you like, my draw is to just be in the easiness and the presence and the beauty and the exploration and just the enjoyment of this, and less around the things that I used to think made me happy. The loud music, or lots of people, or feeling that I should be doing, or like sign up for this course and let's go and have this workshop and let's go on holiday or whatever. There's none of that that's really pulling me anymore. So I just wondered but is that resistance? I don't know.
I don't understand. You feel more and more happy, and it seemed to be an issue. I don't.
Well, it's because, okay, so the issue is that, okay, so as you know, I've recently come out of a relationship because, again, we were very, very different in what we were wanting. It's like, I'm seeing him very, seduced by the external, whereas I'm happier. I don't need the bells and whistles like I used to before. That used to excite me. Even, going out and, psychedelics and stuff used to have an interest, but it's like in some ways this experience is psychedelic enough, or it's I don't need all of that. In fact,
cheaper.
what I have found is that sometimes it brings me down or it unsettles me somehow.
Yeah.
But I guess because of the old, well, that's interesting that you use that with the old character. There's still that sense that, I think it is just because the character so wanted all of these things and all of these peoples and all of these experiences, and you really crave them to the extent that it could literally make my life a misery, because if I didn't have them or they weren't right, there was suffering. Whereas there can even be enjoyment in the suffering at the moment. Even in the sadness. Yeah. So, and I don't know. I just found it was all just like piecing together with everything that people were saying, that it's like, yes, so much is changing, but just like, yeah, there isn't the draw to what I used to enjoy. But the question is, am I resisting something there? Or is it just that the alignment has changed?
I don't really use much the word resistance because I'm not sure what does it mean in this context. I need to look at it more carefully to really understand your question. I think we have a habit of we have the habit of being distracted by experience, and mainly thoughts, by the narrative of thoughts. And in thought there is when thought is present, there is a sense of identity that is present. And identity comes with a story, right? Because if you Kirsty have a past and think that have a future. So the character itself is an appearance within you. So the character itself doesn't resist, in a way. It's an appearance, right? But we have this strong bound to watch our experience, to be hypnotized by experience. And we identify with one specific character, right? We say, this is beautiful, this is me, and it's like when you watch too much a show and one of the character of the show die, you feel something, but nothing. What the hell is happening? No, because you got somehow you got interested in it. You got hypnotized by the character, some kind of connection that you believe that was happening or something. Yes, and it's the same for this life that is unfolding. So what happened is when we start to disengage with the drama of life, and we start to be more interested into what we are than in the story that is unfolding, we start to see that a lot of the activities that we are doing, a lot of the interaction and the relationship and the behavior and the action and the work and the life situation and is mainly there to distract us and to support what I think is the character. So if David is very angry, I will always find myself with people who are doing things to me, and I get anger because that suits me, because David it's an angry person, so I need those situations. And then after I complain about the situation, I complain about the anger, and I complain about this is good. But when you start to drop, to feel that maybe I'm tired of being angry, I'm just tired, and so no, okay, let people rob me, let things happen, and that what the hell, I don't want to be angry anymore. But at some point it can be some kind of confusion. That's what I feel you are expressing, like this is not the way of life that I know. This is not the identity that Kirsty is this way, is that way, is dramatic, is this or that, and you have a whole story about what is Kirsty, what are the characteristic of Kirsty. And when you start to kind of rest in your being and start to see what's really going on here, you start to see that the interests that were driving you are not there. The impulse start to dissolve naturally, and therefore the situation that were apparently great and amazing, or that you felt in connection with people, you start to see, but there is nothing here happening. Well, what the hell are we doing here in a bar drinking alcohol? We cannot even hear ourselves, but here we are thinking that we are all connecting. And tomorrow morning I feel like terrible. And it was a great night, and it's like, but really, I mean, I'm not sure that, right? But it's difficult to change because of habit, different levels, but also because David, it's a party animal, so it needs this event to support his narration, to support his identity. Without this, who am I? without this party? Who am I without my angry behavior? Who am I without my difficult relationship? Who am I with my parents that I hate? Who am I with that? Who am I if I'm really just peaceful? That's what I mean, just like Jesus, just always only peaceful. Yeah, why not? No. Yeah, because there is this struggle of habit and identity and what I should be, what human should be. And often we get together and we support each other, and that's why often we enter into relationship with other people, not really for other people. We want the other to validate what I believe to be. I want the other to validate my behavior and who am I. And when the other stops to do that, I start to be angry with him, and the relationship is terrible and start to change, and he's an asshole or she's an asshole, whatever. But no, I mean, I'm happy with almost everyone. I mean, generally people are very nice, but because you see that the less you hold a specific identity, you see that nothing is personal. So when someone come to me in any relationship, from my mother to the postman, and he start to speak to me in a specific way, there will be a reaction in the moment, right? But the reaction is not an identity, it's not personal, it's nothing, it's just the unfolding of the moment. And when the situation disappears, I'm just watching, this kind of, it could be better, maybe, some post-judgment of the situation, but ultimately I can get very angry to the postman and be very loving to my mother, but I'm not a loving man and I'm not an angry man. I'm not a man, I'm what I am, but I'm neither of them. So there's less and less identity with things, which can change all of your usually way of life.
Yeah.
You see? But you agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's what I've experienced too. Falling away of relationships that I don't fit there anymore, in a way. I think that's
But
what
listen,
Kirsty was saying.
listen to this, say, I don't fit there. But what is the I that we mean? Often we mean the character, we mean what our imagination of what we are.
Yeah.
When you start to see, and that's also connected to loneliness, because of my realization was that I felt that I was connected to people, but I realized I was connected to no one, not even to myself. So suddenly I felt everything was empty and the world was empty. It was meaningless. And that after years you start to see, no, but the meaning is me. I am the meaning. So therefore everything is meaningful because I'm here, because awareness is present, right? And that's why everything is beautiful. But the connection is one way.
Yeah,
So
it's exactly the same for me, Kirsty, as well. Yeah, all my interests of slowly but surely changing. And I went out at the weekend, and it was the first time in about 2 months. Alcohol levels dropped. I used to be like the party animal, David, and yeah, I'm not even. It's just not interesting me as much at the moment. But what I would say is, I can sort of like understand the question, because most of the time I do spend quite a lot of time on my own, but I'm never ever lonely. It's the opposite. It's actually such. I feel so infinite at most of the time and all that. It's a little bit of addictive. And the flip side is, I could see what you were saying about when you meet people, you can get, I suppose, triggered. It's almost like, should we go in there to see if the ego is still active, as it were, to see if that triggering, because I don't know. I mean, I'm in the same position as you, Kirsty. It's such, yeah, I feel so peaceful most of the time being on my own. It's just a beautiful experience. say. I haven't got a problem with that at all.
I feel the same way. I feel much more connected to myself when I'm on my own. Like the deepest connection is there. I think the connection to my own being and the connection to nature, kind of this general belonging. And otherwise, like around people, I almost like there's a disconnect that immediately happens. Like I'm in them suddenly, and something's lost. So I don't know. So yeah, I relate to what you're saying.
It's a great question.
You know, the beauty is that people are an expression of life. People are nature. So we draw some seemingly differentiation between I'm watching a bird, I'm watching a tiger, I'm watching an elephant, I'm watching a tree, I'm watching the cloud, I'm watching the sky. And suddenly human is like, no, this is something that is not nature. Why? Because often we project our own rejection of our own experience. We feel that this experience is too small, thought it's too noisy and too reductive. The body is too painful and I feel too limited. And the world is some kind of perception often can be good, but it's even a bit limited, right? Because there's a beautiful nature, but there is the house there, and there's a 5G, and there is people who throw plastic there, and it's but I think the intention I feel that is when you can see the people like nature itself, like an expression of nature. Like there's nothing wrong with you. If I had the same education, the same situation, the same parent in the same city with the same money, I would be exactly like you. So you are an expression of life itself. And that I can love, right? That I can understand, that I can connect with. And we can always connect with others because everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be at peace and everyone wants to be loved. I just a bit confused on how to get it. But when you really understand this, you can connect to anyone. Because people who want Ferraris, that's great. What is wrong with wanting Ferrari? What is wrong? If you have money, why not buying 5 Ferraris? What is beautiful? Why not? That's his way of trying to express or to find happiness or joy. Well, it's like nature, that's great. But the way that I perceive the other, he shouldn't do this, because maybe I want 5 Ferraris and I'm angry. So again, it's nothing to do with others. You can connect with others because I can connect to myself.
I don't think that's the case
Yeah.
for me. It's sorry.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I don't. For me, it's not that they're not nature. It's just that they're so complex, and you're feeling all the things underlying components of them. It's really, really. It's not a simple experience like a tree or anything else. It just comes with so much more. Not so much what they can connect with their essential being. It's more like all those layers on top.
Plus, as well, I was going to say, it's like, there's a great comment there by Sarah. It's like, I suppose, being more grounded in a noisy environment, because if you're with people and all that, it's where your attention goes, isn't it? You're deep into a conversation, or you're deep into that. So I suppose, I've talked to people when I was out at the weekend, and for the most part, it was great and all that. But I did feel myself getting dragged away. There was one particular person who, it was quite in my face, talking like this for a good 20 or 30 minutes. And afterwards, I felt a little bit heady. I felt a little bit, oof. I need to step back from the flame a little bit and gather myself. This is the analogy. Are you with me? So I think it's not more like judging them, David. I think it's possibly learning to be grounded in that busy environment, as it were, rather than attention going out.
Yeah, I agree with Sarah and I agree with you. maybe the way I understand it, but when you put the cause of your disturbance outside,
Yeah, yeah.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you enter into control immediately. So you're not annoyed because someone talked to you about about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, if someone starts to speak too much and it's too much for me, I can just say, you know, I can't listen to you anymore. Why not? I can just start running. Why not? Because you stay because of I should do this, because of this pattern of what you think Paul is, and Paul should be nice, and this is a spiritual thing. So we somehow we should just be some ear trash for people, apparently, because that's what spiritual people do. I don't know. All of the story, but all of this has nothing to do with other people. It has to do with you. Everything is within you. And that's the only thing I try to maybe not very elegantly to point toward, right? To see that everything is in your experience. And this is a friend thing. The other thing, when you start to make distinction between I'm here and then I was out there, you start to create differentiation of in your experience and differentiation of value and judgment. I shouldn't have done this, or I should be there. This is better. This is again. That's the. I love. I don't have many patience. I mean, I love to be with people who are passionate about something. I don't care about what, you know. I never watch Formula One, for example. But when I'm with my brother, he's passionate, so I love to be with him because you see here, and this is this, and I don't know how many laps, and this one last year, but now he changed of equerry, and now he's in this. When you understand that the car, and I'm just completely in it. I'm like, hey, talk me more. It's beautiful. What he lost? What happened? I love it. I love Formula One, and I love. He explained to me that I'm in it. I completely allow myself to be addicted to Formula One and to listen and beautiful. And then the Formula One end, the conversation end, and it was a great experience. You see, I think the allowing of things unfolding is it's a better functioning. Just as if someone really annoy you, you are free to say, you know, the best way you can, or maybe you, or politely or unpolitely, but because it is too much. I'm not interested in. It's too much for me, and you accept it also. You know, I mean, I'm not interested into what you are saying, and his reaction is his responsibility. It has nothing to do with you. You know, it's just what happened for you. In both cases, it's okay. I'm not saying that is one or the other, but I'm just pointing more to this not putting responsibility or cause outside.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I mean, I think for somebody like myself who's kind of wired in a certain way and has always been, and maybe even there's some conditioning in that regard where I start losing myself in the other, like right away, off the bat. I'm just sort of in them, in their experience, what they're feeling, you know, and I just lose that essential connection to the core of me. And that's different. And I don't know, you know, I don't know that some people struggle with that, but probably not most. So, so that's my issue with, and like I said, you're right. It has nothing to do with them, but yeah, that just
Thank you.
take them on too much, you know. Yeah.
But thank you, Sarah, for expressing your vulnerability. But you see, for me, it's completely different the way you express right now than the way before. People are too much. People are lost. People are this. People are that. It's very different approach from I lose myself when I'm with others, and I wonder what's happening there, and what can I, you know, what I'm curious, what can I do, or what's happening there. It's very different. You see, it's more tender. It's more like a fact. Okay, I'm losing myself, and you know, what can I, you know, what's happening. It's very different from people are wrong. You know, or you know, there is something. People are lost, or people, you know. I think it's the texture is very different. And if you approach with this humility and this authenticity, it's very, very different. And you will see that people will react completely different. It will be completely different if you say to someone, I'm sorry, I need a pause because I want to listen to you, but I have difficulty to be present to what you are saying. So I need a pause, or maybe we need to stop this, or we can speak differently, or find solution. But you're authentic. You don't try to be someone that you are not. You just express what's happening in your experience, and I think it's more functional and more healthy to approach relationship that way. And to avoid all of the spiritual crap, a little bit. Crap is not a good word, but sometimes people associate emotional reaction that if you are really awake and you don't have emotional reactions, so everyone can come to you and say anything and there is no emotion happening. I think everyone has its limit, Maybe someone can enter the room and give me one slap, or two. Maybe at 5 slap I will start to say, you know what, this will stop one way or another. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, that's what I wondered about. Like after awakening, does somebody who's highly sensitive, does that ever lessen, or because it really is difficult to function that way? It's just like you're kind of open, you're wide open, and then it doesn't really close enough for unless you're on your own or something. But, yeah. And with non-duality, there's even less boundaries. But how about people who never really develop a very clear ego boundary to begin with?
Yeah, I think there is, I would, in this context of your question, I will differentiate between a healthy functioning body and non-duality. I mean, if emotionally your body is dysfunctioning, you can't hold yourself, you lose yourself in relationship, and life is too much for too many, everything is too much. It can be that there is healthy boundary to have, and there's nothing wrong with having healthy body and psychological boundaries. Now, and my approach was also that was why I was doing therapy, now understanding differently that when I was doing it, but I understood now that the more I was doing therapy, the more my system was kind of finding some harmony, and the more harmony it felt, the more non-duality makes sense. So it was really the opposite, At the beginning, again, I thought that that mind was a problem and I have to get rid of everything. But then it was the opposite. I said, no, I have to bring everything near of me. But the more you bring things near of you, the more you see the way they dysfunction. And therefore, the way naturally there is a realignment that you do, because you are more sensitive to what is actually happening in your body. And that's a little bit similar to have a more practical, to express this in a more practical way. If you if you don't sleep much, you do a lot of sport and you drink a lot of alcohol, you strangely start to become disconnected from your body. Even if you're using your body a lot, it doesn't matter, because the deep connection with the deep tissue of your body, is something else than doing sport or gymnastic. So the more you can be a very good functioning, you can do a lot of sport, be very functional sportively and strength, but you can have a lot of pain and dysfunction in the way that articulation works. So when you start doing a lot of sport and less food and less drugs, alcohol, you start to feel the body and you feel, oh, in fact, I'm painful. I feel pain here, right? But if you're always active, maybe the body, just because adrenaline in life, just suppress this pain because it has to function. But when you slow down, you start to feel the pain, the articulation, and the tiredness of the body. And the more you feel this, the more you see, maybe I will go to see a doctor, right? Or maybe I will. So naturally, the impulse is to resolve the dysfunction that you perceive. But you have to perceive them first.
Yeah, I feel the same way. When you spoke about that you're doing both, that's exactly where I'm at. I feel like I have to, it's really strange. It's two opposing things. Like I have to build an ego in a way, like not a healthy ego, right? Like build sort of a self, and at the same time see through that. And it's a really strange sort of thing. It doesn't, and I know it doesn't make sense when I talk about it, but it's happening at the same time. So it's really kind of, yeah, to be, and as that happens, there's more balance and alignment, like you were saying, and then the non-dual aspects become more like they settle in more, maybe. I think that's how it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what our conversation is not about being metaphysically accurate. The point of now this conversation, it's and many of when I converse, it's more about being functional. What is functional for the moment, and so a big part of this process is emotional work, which is body work, because emotion, the biggest part of the emotion is in the inner nervous system, is somatic, is energy, a pattern of energy of the body. That's a big part of the process. And the functional way to approach this is to say everything is fine. If I have dysfunctional ego, it's fine. If I have very functional ego, it's fine also. And with this, everything is fine. Often it's we allow we allow the the support in our experience, because often when we have a dysfunction in emotion and in our psyche, it is kind of something that rejects life. It don't want to be healthy, don't want to be happy, doesn't want anything, want to suffer. It has this impulse. And the more we relax, the more we allow, okay, the more we welcome, the more, okay, you are the right to be how you are. It's fine, right? It's okay. And you welcome, the more it will dissolve slowly and slowly and slowly. And in this solution, the first part of the solution is what in your word is like having a healthy ego. But then when you have a healthy ego, you keep going, right? You keep going deeper and deeper and deeper until at some point it doesn't really matter how experience is unfolding.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what a healthy ego, I mean, maybe it's just bringing in those aspects closer, and also just certain mindset, just to kind of give myself, but I mean, I think it's important, like you said, like with the nervous system, just to kind of get it to relax, and as that relaxes, a lot more things are accessible in terms of like
Yeah. Well, I say healthy ego, but then I don't. The definition of the ego that is meaningful to me is the presence of a limitation, the experience of a limitation. That's an ego, whatever it is, right? If you feel that you are limited in your sense of sensation, that's an ego, in the sense that's a seemingly limitation. Ciao, Pater. Yeah, that's a seemingly limitation that is appearing. So that's an ego, that's a finite experience that appear in an infinite awareness. In that sense, that's a limitation. So in a way, there is no healthy or unhealthy ego, because there is only one thought appearing at the moment. But that's why I prefer to speak more about emotion or the nervous system, if this makes sense for you. Because the more you start to be able to be with emotion and to be more sensitive, and you are able to tune into the field of sensing in the way that it is, and you can be with it fully and completely, the less you have turmoil in your emotional state. And the less there is turmoil, the more peace you feel, even in the presence of emotion. You will see that thoughts start to vanish almost completely. So the whole point of healthy, not healthy, healing, not healing, it's, I understand, but when I speak too much about that, I feel it's not really correct.
Yeah, I mean, all I
Doesn't
mean
feel
by
fully
a certain,
accurate.
sorry. Yeah, when I speak about that, I actually just mean a healthy boundary, like what you said, when you're listening to someone and you say, you know what, I need to, this is too much, or whatever else you say, you have to feel a sense of some sort of boundary, like I'm here and then they're there. That's all I mean, right? To function in the world, that's how it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Whereas
okay.
Yeah, whereas
Of
I didn't
course.
have that. I kind of like disappeared into the other person. So it wasn't like I had even a self to say that. Like I just disappeared, kind of merged into the other person, and that's not very healthy. So
No, it's not healthy, but we learn boundaries when we are baby and in utero, in the uterus. That's where we learn boundaries. Our parents should protect us because the baby doesn't have boundaries, doesn't literally just absorb everything. It doesn't have any capacity of distinction. So it's absorb it absorbs the full field of his experience, and and the process of creating an identity is absorbing the environment and making it in the flesh, right? Putting it inside everywhere. And if the parents are not protecting enough or are not just able to do it for whatever reason, and we can grow up and so on, and we just keep functioning without this capacity, well, maybe we haven't learned it, But there is a place for this in the process, and it's a big part of the process. In the process, in the way that I teach it in the course that I propose, but also here, it's like there is 4 different steps. The process, they are not linear. We jump all around, but it's kind of a map, right? Orientation. The first step is thought. We have to see the nature of. We have to see the misleading of the appearance of thought. We have to see that time, identification, and choice and control. It's a texture of thought. When thought is here, there's a sense of time, identity, and choice. That's when you know that thought is strongly here. And then when you start to see this, you naturally start to disengage with thought, and you enter. Then you will not say, "My mind is agitated." You start to say, "I feel angry. I feel this. I feel that. I have emotion." And then we deal with emotion. We have to learn to be with emotion, which almost in our civilization no one teaches anymore. Watch TV, buy things, eat, drink, have sex, but emotion, no one cares really. But we have to learn to be with that more and more. And then when you are able to understand the unfolding of emotion, we can start to dissolve the world, the body, and the mind, because the world is perception, the body is sensation, and the mind is thoughts. So we start to dissolve what seems to be out there, more near of us. So we dissolve what is seemingly dual, what is external. We put it where it belongs, which is here, in me. And then there is this process of kind of seeing that all there is awareness. But it is true that if you have strong emotion, it will be very difficult to go deeper, because the the intensity of emotion will be very distracting. It will be almost impossible to feel things. For example, if you take half an hour to move your hand from one side to the other, right? Take just half an hour to do this. I will not do it here because that's the point. But people just after 5 seconds, their emotional state, and it's just like that. It's too much. So they can't be with sensing directly. They are with thoughts, they are with emotion, but they can't be with direct contact with with sensation. So they can't be with perception either, neither with thought directly. So that's why even is very unique to everyone, but there is some kind of pattern of stages that seem that everyone goes through.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the sensations, when they're very strong, there needs to be some sort of safety. So if you do like if you open your attention or open the focus, naturally the nervous system relaxes, and then you really are able more to be from within the emotion, not watching the emotion, but you're feeling it from within yourself, like as not as a separated observer, you know? And I think just finding that way of relaxing, the first, like opening as wide as possible, that sort of just puts the body in a more of a position to be able to feel it, is what I find in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, being with emotion, that's why I start with thoughts always, because thought is is the fuel of emotion. You know, it's like water on fire. It's oil, oil on fire, right? Thought. So if I feel sad now, because thought will have identity and time, it will say, yeah, but you felt sadness yesterday and you will feel sadness tomorrow. So therefore you will feel sadness forever, and you are a depressing guy. And then you are a depressive person. So it adds to the layer of depression, which is sadness in a very, very long period of time. It will add identity, which I am a depressed person, which is another layer of difficulty. And then you will say, you can choose something. So you choose poorly in the past, you will choose poorly in the future. So you are just stuck here, and it's your fault, and you are guilty. So choice and control is terrible. And that's why we have to start to understand the nature of thought. When this is clear, you can be with a lot of intensity in emotion, because an emotion is tactily is infinite, right? When you feel an emotion, it's infinite. You can explore it it is literally infinite. There is no border to an emotion. That's why you can zoom in and it dissolve and everything. But psychologically, an emotion is neutral. There's no comment. There is sadness, but there's no story, there's no comment, there's no time, there's no, I'm not sad person, I'm not controlled, no joy, it's just sadness. And you feel that.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Like when you feel it directly, it kind of feels more therapeutic than anything else. There's a certain feeling that,
Yeah.
even sadness, yeah, it feels kind of, it's just the
But-
sad.
But it's beautiful. People are so disconnected from their emotion that they need to go to the movie. They need to pay
Right?
to feel sadness. They need to pay to feel fear. I mean, there's not enough fear and sadness in your life that you need to pay to feel them, but it's not because you don't feel them. That's why you want to feel something. But if you're sensitive, you will see life will bring you misery often enough. You don't need to pay for it.
Exactly how I felt. Like, why would you want to go? Because you don't feel enough, so you have to see this horrific thing, or go on a roller coaster and have this burst of adrenaline, like as if. Well, but that's just me. I know most people are more muted in their kind of in their whole existence. They're sort of like everything is more dulled. But yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't talk or teach a lot about therapy, even if I've learned it a lot, and I'm aware of this. It's very practical and very functional, but I don't talk specifically a lot about it in this meetings. Okay. Yes, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for your presence, to be here, to have taken the time. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
And yeah, have a good week. I hope to see you next time. Enjoy. Bye bye.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.